Hello everyone, my name is Mayan Morgan and I'm a doctoral student at Regent University in the Doctor of Strategic Communications program. And I'm going to be presenting my poster presentation to you today. Now, my poster presentation's research is about active listening within an organization, specifically within the education system, but it can be utilized for all organizations. Now, when you think about active listening, when you say the word listening, sometimes you automatically go to hearing and what a person can hear because what a person said is exactly what they said. Well, when you think about active listening, you're not just listening to the words that are being said, rather, you're looking at the whole experience of the interaction with the person, from their nonverbal communication to their timing of how they say certain things, to their apprehensiveness, to how they respond and react to things that you may say or you may do. Now, what I'm looking at in this education system with active listening is how an administrator can engage a teacher and find more common ground so that there's more of an understanding between the two. But then also how a teacher can engage with the student and find that common ground so that there's more understanding. And then how as a whole, the school system can engage and interact with the families, from the parents to the students, so that way there's more of an understanding. You'll find a lot of times, especially now, especially in our current times, there's a lot of students who are leaving a school to go to another school, going to charter school, going to homeschool, and it's just because they're not happy with where they are. They're not happy with where they are because there's a miscommunication or a lack of understanding. And active listening is something that would be able to help with that process. So now when you think about an organization, there's sometimes we have the organization that have high turnover rates. You know, your teachers aren't staying, your principals aren't staying, your students aren't staying. This can't possibly be good for our students, one, because when they go to another school, they still have to try to acclimate themselves to the system and to the environment. But if we were to keep them in the one same spot, it would be easier for them to feel comfortable within that education system, which would improve their testing, it would improve their social skills, and it'll make them feel better just about themselves, not having to move around. Then also, when you think about turnover, you have teachers that are always leaving, every 2 years, every year, every few years. They're leaving and going to other school systems because they're not happy with the engagements that they have with some of their students. They're not happy with some of the engagements that they're having with some of their administration. And when you think about that engagement being poor, it's due to active listening or the lack thereof. And we want to discover how active listening can help strengthen those relationships from administration and teachers, so that way we can reduce the turnover rate, increasing our students' environment being positive with people that they're familiar with, rather than having to change teachers all the time, which will also help with increasing the loyalty that is there with the school. So now, the questions that I have within my study that I was trying to answer were, why is it important for management of an organization to utilize active listening to increase employee loyalty? Second would be, how can management of an organization establish a strong listening culture to reduce employee turnover? How can management of an organization establish a strong active listening culture to reduce employee turnover? And then third, how does active listening affect the productivity of employees within an organization? All of these questions are important to better understand. And when you think about communication, it's all about being able to convey a message that someone is able to understand. That's the most important part of what active listening will help, is increasing understanding. My literature review, I'm studying to improve workplace communication problems within active listening, because I want to find out who benefits the most from active listening, what steps go into developing an active listening culture, why active listening is important in the workplace communication, where active listening is best applied, whether active listening is important to increase employee loyalty, and how active listening can be applied to reduce employee turnover in order to understand management and employee relationships better. So I work in a charter school district. I am one of the student recruiters there, and I've been there for a few years. And I started as a teacher. And watching the interworkings of this system, I was able to see firsthand the misunderstanding or misinterpretation of certain messages being conveyed, which is what helped me think about this research study in the first place. Now, when I took on this project, I was able to go into my school and start the research process there, because I could go into the different campuses that we have and I can watch certain teachers' actions, I can watch certain students' actions, and I could watch administration's actions and how they all correlate together. Now, the study rationale. In this research study, I hope to find out why it is important for management of an organization, and specifically in education sector, to utilize active listening to increase stakeholder loyalty. Every school which exists only to serve the people within the community. These people either are the students and their families, the teachers and supporting staff, the administrator which leads the campuses, and the district or community partners which support the school. Each one of those people groups are stakeholders of a school, and experience certain things within the communication environment of a school in order to develop a deep stakeholder loyalty. My research is to see what specific activities within active listening can help improve stakeholder loyalty and decrease stakeholder turnover. Now, the theory is that if a person or a student or an administrator or a teacher, if they're happy or if they feel better, they tend to produce more or they tend to stick around. Now, when you think about active listening, it helps increase understanding. And when somebody understands you, it makes you feel a lot better about whatever the situation is, rather than them not quite understanding you, then you're not happy. One of the theories that I used was a theory from Dr. Paul Ekman, and he is one of the leading experts in emotions and in micro expressions. But part of his research is about the emotions, and happiness being one of them, or enjoyment being one of them. Now, I looked through the lens of this study, I looked through the lens of his research to see what things make people happy within the school system. For students, if I'm in class and I'm a little nervous, maybe I'm an introvert, the teacher recognizing that I'm an introvert and not calling on me, but putting me in positions that will help me better feel comfortable about what I'm doing in the class for that day. Sometimes, as a teacher, you just kind of pick on people, or you say certain things, or you do certain things without really paying attention to the fact that certain students wouldn't be comfortable in that environment, but they put them in the environment in the first place. And if a teacher is utilizing active listening, this will help their students relate to them a little bit better, and then ultimately that will help the student do better in school, just being able to relate. So using Dr. Paul Ekman's theory on emotions, I was able to pinpoint and look at some key things that will help with people feeling better and having enjoyment. And the enjoyment isn't necessarily about having a party. The enjoyment is placing people in the right situations, in the right environment, with the right timing of certain things, so in that way they don't feel misunderstood. Thank you guys, and you have a wonderful and blessed day.